Okay, we are ready.
Welcome to the December 11th meeting of the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee. My name is Reshma Patel, and I am chair of the committee. Tonight, we're joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Burr. This meeting is called to order at 6:37 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law now requires all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions you have by raising your hand. If there's time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Thank you, Roberto, for volunteering to take minutes tonight. And if you are able to take minutes for a future meeting, please let Brendan know, and you can fill out the doodle poll. We will now take attendance by roll call. Brendan, will you do the roll call?
Committee members, I will call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Jim Collins.
Here.
B. Disman won't be with us tonight. Nat Kalani. Here. Ava Marie Lassiter.
Present.
David Lowenstein is not here. Steve O.
Present.
Reshma Patel.
Present.
Steve Perez.
Present.
Roberto Ruiz Melendez.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Brendan. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hands. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes for the November 13th meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the November 13th meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CV6 website. In order to conduct an efficient meeting tonight, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about a committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand, and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom, and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function is for committee members via Zoom only. It should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud for the record during the meeting. So tonight's agenda, continued discussion on transparency of state regulatory agencies is the first item on our agenda. Next, we have the chair's report, and then we'll discuss old and new business. So I'd like to thank Jim Collins, who prepared a letter to our state elected officials talking about the transparency of state regulatory agencies. This everyone should have received this earlier. I hope you had a chance to review it. And I'd also like to thank Jim for having drafted the resolution that we adopted last month on being allowed to have virtual meetings for community boards, and that will be presented to full board on Wednesday. So if you can pull the letter up. Oh, thank you, Brendan, you've already done that. So does anyone have comments to this? And Brendan, if you can just scroll, I had a few, it seemed like an extra period and I had some small little typo things, but I didn't have edit access, so I couldn't make it, so.
I'm noticing an extra space
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, there's two periods after area there.
Yeah, there's an extra space after like of the administrative.
Of the, or,
Yeah, well, does it help? Yeah.
And then after district, the
I'm an
next
old
period.
man, I learned to type on a manual typewriter. You had to click twice to get a space.
you said of the,
It's right. I can show you. It's right there. Oh, there's also one there, I guess.
Yeah.
You gotta put it in like a live doc. changes.
And subtype, believe it or not, is the proper
I googled it and I
citation.
saw it.
Yeah. It's not a typo.
here, now.
Oh, sorry.
Opine on developments is a period after
There's
on.
one here after board.
Yeah,
There you go.
I just put a period back.
And the period, I guess, should be after.
yep,
Yeah.
And then there's like another.
after district, yeah.
There we go.
And then,
Is it,
oh, go ahead.
no, that's all right. It's substantive, that's correct.
I didn't hear what you said.
Where's that?
The terminology on that line, is that a term subject, is that? what it-
Subtype, yeah, that's the proper,
Okay,
that's the proper.
But that's what you were
citation,
saying, Jim,
believe it or
yeah.
not.
Where is it?
Subtype 9 CRR,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I think there are two spaces.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, this is good.
The other thing I wanted to say is in,
Oh, wait, the governmental chairman of the business, oh, yeah, we have to choose a date for the
yeah,
meeting.
yeah, it says meeting, so choose virtual meeting among, so I was gonna say, do we actually think that we will be able to do something in December? Given the holidays, and maybe we have to do it in January, or do we send it to them and see if they can have a meeting sometime next week?
I was kind of thinking even like the virtual versus in person. If you get it in person, that's probably net better too, right? And then it
Yeah.
ends up being in January.
Yeah,
Shouldn't that be budget and governmental affairs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to correct it from business and governmental affairs.
the only thing with January is, put in person, they'll all be in Albany,
Well,
because
it's
the
gonna be a
session starts.
virtual, I said, let's do it as a.
Yeah, I know
virtual.
Nat is
Yeah.
suggesting that we do in person, so that's why, but it
Maybe
might be hard.
Is
Yeah.
it improper to not put virtual and just see if it comes to discussion, if it becomes?
Yeah, I think let's keep virtual out of it.
Yeah.
Let's see, because maybe they're still around in January, or some people, I know Harvey's always back and forth. But, some people tend to stay up there too.
Yeah,
We're not,
that
we're
would-
not likely to get the electeds themselves, you're most likely.
Yeah, you're gonna
to
get someone from their
staff.
office too,
Yeah,
yeah.
staff.
Still representing their office, it's
Mhm.
fine.
So should we change it to early January then? Or do you wanna try to keep it for December still?
It's up to you.
We put, money, or should we just send it to them and see what they come back with it?
With like no date.
Well,
Yeah,
I think we need to give them a rally date.
okay, okay, so let's.
Cause you're reaching out to how many
Yeah,
guys?
yeah, we're reaching out to
Yeah.
a lot of them. I mean, I'm not sure if we want to put exactly like a date and time.
Yeah.
Just winter.
Or we could
Early
just say,
January,
yeah,
yeah.
we could say, please contact our board office so we can arrange a mutually convenient time. Or there's an app you can send around to get a meeting time.
Yeah, like a
There are
Google
multiple
Doodle.
apps out there,
Yeah.
there's Doodle, there's
Yeah.
Calendly, there
Yeah.
are other apps I'm probably not aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mutual agreed sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect because I think putting one date is, first of all, it's gonna be hard to get all of them.
Besides, a non-response to this is an answer too. so.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, Steve.
Cause this isn't us talking about something small, it is
Yeah.
relatively.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was gonna talk about when we talk about the issues that come up. Too little, too late to affect approvals of sites, programs, and governmental operations in our community district, should we add as shown by the rollout of the cannabis licensing?
I'm sorry, I was reading this and.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so,
Which paragraph?
the paragraph I can't see the whole thing.
Oh, Sam, the exemplar,
It's the too little, too late, the one that ends in,
yeah,
while, the one that starts with, while those two are exemplary,
yeah,
right? At the end of where it says our community district, should we add a sentence that says, or just a clause that says, as we have seen with the rollout of the cannabis
Oh, an example.
licensing,
Hmm,
process, or do we just keep it at this?
let's not pick on a
yeah,
board.
we mentioned the cannabis
Let's see.
Yeah, he's
before.
already
Yeah.
mentioned it before.
Yeah, so then let's keep it, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cause they'll read into it
yeah,
and, the too little too late is pretty on the nose.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's all these things that they're creating, you know, these. I mean, I think, are we interested? We're mostly interested in interfacing with these new boards as they come into being by Albany mandate, as opposed to particular actions of those boards or of Albany generally.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
trying to boil the ocean with that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if the SLA comes up and says, you know, we're changing the liquor law so that you can have a liquor license outside the candy store and next to the, you know, the grammar school.
yeah,
That's something we would address all as it is, but what we're talking about here is when Albany comes up and creates these administrative bodies out of whole cloth, and we're not at all aware of them, that we need to.
yeah, when it's new
be advised of
legislation,
their meeting.
and there's board setup, which is
Yeah.
in the case of these two things.
Should we
Yeah.
double click also on the? So one of them is certainly, I don't wanna add to it, but
Mhm.
complicating things, but obviously this is all about an agency. Regulatory agency just appearing and us not knowing about it, but the other thing is it appearing and milestones and schedules being done. Before that whole little too late thing kicks in, right? A lot of this, what am I trying to get at here? The time that some of these objectives are trying to meet, we don't even, not even aware of it until it's passed,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
we're
it's too little
asking
too
for,
late, 6:30?
we're asking for
Maybe
more
too late, too late.
transparency,
6:30,
because
right.
we knew about the creation we knew about because this was legislation and that was actually voted on,
Yeah.
right? It was ballot issues, right? So people in the state voted on it now. You know, members of our board may or may not have always agreed, but it was the majority of the
Yeah.
people, so that, we're not questioning these, right, legislations, we're just saying,
Right.
hey, if this is gonna happen, we have to be involved with the licensing process, it's gonna, you know, involve our community board, we wanna know ahead of time. So we don't have this situation where, you know,
Right.
we then have like 20 people at one meeting showing up for a license, or in some cases, you know, one community board, our neighboring community board had 80 people show up for a license. And nobody was exactly sure what the rules were
Right,
in the approvals, like how do we approve it, right? Is it the same as the liquor licensing? Is it different? We don't know. Because the board has not been transparent in their process.
right.
Yeah, so,
and we say that last paragraph on or the last one on the screen that says Manhattan Community Board 6. We're asking them, you know, tell us when the legislation is first comes to your notice and when the thing is published in the state register under the Administrative Procedure Act.
yeah. So does anyone have any other, or do we want to add something based on what Steve said? I would just say we take virtual out of parentheses and we let them say, oh, we can only do virtual or in person.
Yeah, let them choose and, yeah.
Take out this
Yeah,
version.
strike out virtual.
Yeah. But as Jim said, even if they're in Albany, they may just always send one of their staff people who are in the city. Oh, Steve has his hand raised.
Yeah, just a comment. Can rather than the last sentence which says kindly RSVP, shouldn't there be some kind of a statement there as to who they should reach out to make the appropriate arrangements for this meeting. So who are they contacting? Please contact so-and-so at Community Board 6, or, I don't know what the appropriate mechanism is, but.
Yes, no, that's a really good point, because when we change the not keeping the date in, then we don't need to do that. So, Brendan, can you be the contact for this, or? If the,
Yeah,
yeah,
what I might suggest if the committee is thinking a mutually agreed time
Yeah.
is maybe this last sentence be a place where a link can be provided to a poll.
yes, a calendar or a doodle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Doodle,
So-
yeah.
Yeah,
So kindly RSVP or kindly
kindly set up,
indicate
indicate availability.
by filling. So please kindly indicate availability through.
Provided link.
Yeah, that, I know the apps is a placeholder, but.
Okay.
Hi, Eva Marie has a comment.
I just had a question in the last sentence
Mm.
in the paragraph before, where it's saying, meeting, but it's saying by which community board and community boards generally can better interface with new rule-making bodies that come into being before they come into being,
That
what
may come into
exactly
being
is,
before
what is
they
the
come-
they, the second one, what does that mean?
Where are you?
The last
The
sentence, last full
the
paragraph.
last sentence, can better interface with new rule-making bodies that come into being before they come into being.
Yeah,
What, I don't quite understand what you mean there.
new rulemaking bodies such as the SLA, or is the,
Yeah, if you scroll up,
The
he
board
indicates
thing.
to it to the.
Yeah, but I think the question is,
The-
what does
the-
that mean? Because
the
it's like before they come into being, is that
Right.
redundant, right? That's more your question, like, what does that mean? So they're saying is before they're created,
Yes,
Yes,
because to me, the
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
implies that
yeah,
you're not,
yeah.
it's.
before they are created?
yeah, before,
You could say that.
yeah.
Point.
Yeah, or
When
before they come into being.
Before they are created.
Yeah. Before they are created. How about established? Because
Yeah.
created, it seems like you're creating an artwork or something. Yeah, the Eva Marie, that was a good one, because catch there too, because it's.
Thank you very much for
Mhm.
the letter and the draft. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
No problem.
All right, anyone else, any more comments?
I think captures the spirit of what we're trying to convey,
Yeah.
like. We're not trying to pit them against a corner,
Yeah,
we're asking to be a partner when this is all being done, bring us in early, like we do when we. And rewrite resolutions up to them.
yeah.
Thank you, Jim, for writing this. Just want to say thank you.
No
Just to
problem.
start, as the cannabis call out and the other call out, maybe if you could scroll up a little bit. I was just wondering
And
if
reason
there's
you,
a way to make the two such mandates that come to mind. Maybe if we could make the what have been the results of these mandates a little bit more clear, perhaps like one more sentence that makes this clear, like what has happened to the district because of these mandates. I think that might be helpful. That's my only comment on the letter.
I'm kind of the view, and I think, B had mentioned this at the last meeting, was to keep it kind of nebulous as to what our concerns were, so that,
Okay.
they don't come back and say, oh, this is gonna be a whole hassle, just leave it, let them interpret,
right,
read into it what they may. We don't wanna say, we don't want the cannabis shops, legal and illegal,
right,
or the casino in our community district, and we need to be able to gear up against them immediately before anything comes up. That was that was B's message. I mean, believe me, if I had my way, I would be.
Fine. I agree. Okay.
Close the damn thing.
No, that's a good,
Yeah.
this is not us picking one or the other.
Yeah, because this legislation is passed. This is not, we're not saying, we're not opining on this legislation. It's already been passed,
Right.
right? That we've,
Right, we're just
Yeah,
saying,
It's
Yeah.
more of a macro
yeah.
concern that agencies are popping up.
yeah,
it's procedural. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
they're throwing this stuff out and they're not involving us at all, even though it affects us, you know? It's like, oh, New York State is, developing a new nuclear waste policy, so instead of dumping our nuclear waste up in West Valley, New York, we're gonna dump it in Community District 6 in Manhattan, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Under our new nuclear waste disposal board
yeah.
that you never heard of.
Yeah, and we're hoping that when they're forming the board, you know, that hopefully like CB6 out of the chair or someone from CB6 can be represented on the board. All right, I think we're all good, or anyone else have any more comments? Anyone online?
Now, when we do this, address it, it should be, each individual should be listed separately, so, you know, it's, I presume, starting with the senators and then the assembly members.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
their full address and our header, you know what I mean? You know, you know how to write those
Yeah.
letters to
Oh,
multiple, I'm
you
sure you
don't
do
have
them all the time.
Yeah, so it will be individual on CB6 letterhead being sent to each of our state senators and state assembly people.
This is a letter to all of our electeds. We also include, well, they're just separate individually letters.
We're gonna do separate individual letters, unlike the resolutions, right, where we put everybody's names on it.
Okay, let's go back up. I just wanna see how we're addressing it, if that's the case, cause I wrote it, assuming that everybody was gonna be listed. So,
Oh, I mean, you
No,
could do that, yeah.
I think maybe.
Because it's a letter, it's not like a resolution where there's a set format.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I think if you show the letters to everybody,
Yeah.
all the addressees, they'll all understand that this is something going to everybody.
Yeah, everybody, they won't say that we're just saying like, you know,
We
that
want
one
everybody-
person, yeah.
We want everybody here.
Yeah, we're talking to each
apply.
of the,
So
we're talking
that's
to
fine,
each
man.
of the,
Well, let's leave that to, I mean, this is gonna get to full board, right?
No, I
No.
don't think so.
Okay.
No.
and we don't need full board approval of this. Now, this would be
Okay.
signed by chair though of the CB6.
Yeah.
It wouldn't, it wouldn't come from me as chair of this committee. So we do need to, and Sandy has been on the original initial emails we sent, but we do need her to take a look at this and be okay with it.
Yeah, but keep in mind that until January 1st, per the bylaws, Kyle is.
Oh,
here,
Kyle
so
is.
Also, I
Yeah.
also make sure.
Yeah, so we should send it to Kyle and Sandy, both, I guess. Given we don't, this time frame will be both, I could be December, could be January, and let them decide. I assume if it's, I'd like this to be sent out in December, so I assume Kyle will then sign it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if he's okay with
Both
it.
sides.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, yeah.
And just
it-
put, board chair elect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but probably safe to run it by the current chair, especially if it
Okay.
is going to have his signature.
yes,
on it.
yeah,
At least I would appreciate, like, if I had something fine with my name, I would
Yeah.
appreciate.
yeah.
It'd be great if we get both of the
Did I
signatures.
copy Kyle on this? I don't know.
I think he was. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to go check.
So the idea is that we're gonna put all the lists of the electeds on the top,
Yeah,
okay? Cause it'd be, the idea is that one, for instance, one senator will talk to the other and be like, did you get this from C6?
yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they may not.
It may, it may not.
Yeah,
yeah, and they all know.
Like I said,
Yeah.
no answer is an answer.
yeah, but they may say like, okay, what is this about, and talk to each other.
Right. I mean, you named hard examples, so I don't think we're being poetic or anything.
Yeah,
And I think that, yeah, the spirit of the letter doesn't show that we're picking one decision over the other or anything like that in terms of specifically to Canada or specifically to gaming, so it's just,
Yeah, and this
Think
is,
it's
and,
over.
yeah, and as we had, I mean, and Jimmy did a great job because the conversation we had last month was very amorphous. And it was just this overarching idea that we want to have more of a voice in this process, and you kept it to that point, that this is something that it's going forward. We're not trying to go backwards or questioning anything that's
Mhm.
happened already. We're trying to move forward.
I mean, there was no power of the creation of it, just, we
Yeah.
should be given at least awareness
Yeah.
of said nuclear
Yeah.
committee.
Okay. All right, well, if that's done, we'll move on to, the next item. So, Chair's report I mentioned earlier, we have our resolution that Jim drafted, for, in support of Alex Boris's state assembly bill that it would make it possible for us to meet virtually, easier as a community board, and it is something that we are sharing with other community boards, so that, they can also perhaps share, similar resolutions if they support that.
Did you chat with Sandy at all? Did she check out with you?
No,
Okay.
yeah,
There was one, she just wanted to clarify in the resolution that I wrote, and I added the sentence, I mean, that's why I was late. I added a sentence, basically confirming that, that this was intended to, allow for virtual attendance to count towards quorum.
yeah,
That was a question she had. She wanted to specify more clearly. So if you go down, that's your version, that's your printed version, right?
Yep,
yeah.
Okay, I can tell you what I wrote.
I mean, it's the Word version of the PDF that's on the resume tracker.
Okay, stand by 1 second. I added. Carry on, I'm just, it's gonna take me a minute just to dig that up, stand by.
Well, does anybody else, while we're waiting for Jim to pull up those changes, have any, we still have the opportunity to change this resolution, even though we voted on it already. So if anyone has any changes to this.
I didn't have any question about changes. I
Yeah.
just wanted to know, in terms of priority, one thing that really stood out for me is that we don't have the facilities very often because it's getting, in terms of the on-site real estate, and that was actually the most important thing in terms of having to meet on-site.
Yeah.
That do you think that should be moved up? That's just my question. Is that more of a priority? Because it may be that it'll be more difficult for us to meet on site, and that's one of the main reasons why it should be a virtual.
I have no preference as to the, I think we say that in the draft, I have no preference as to where the particular whereas documents. Or whereas paragraphs lay within the body.
Do you think that when it's read, that it's read in a priority basis, even though it's not numbered?
I don't know.
That's why when I saw that, it's like, put that up at the top.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm okay with moving that ahead, that whereas clause.
Yeah.
ahead as
I
well.
think everyone has different reasons why this is a challenge, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Yeah, no,
pretty glaring.
Mhm.
I'm agnostic as to which one is, okay, here's where I made the change.
Oh,
If you want.
Brendan has it.
So, like, are we going with the change that Ava Marie, suggested, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think she wants to make it, where do you want to put it?
Yeah, I
Right
mean, no one,
front?
and does everyone object to that? I'm okay with that.
I
That's
So,
good.
what's going to the first whereas?
The
Virtual
physical-
meeting, there we go.
Where it says,
Where-
it's
there.
under there. where it
Virtual
says-
meetings eliminate the need.
Mhm.
Oh, this one?
Yes, this is to secure large public auditorium venues, which are
So
no
let's
longer
put that-
available.
Up front, that's.
So it's now the first whereas.
Yes,
Well, yeah, I don't think you want it to be the first.
Yeah.
yeah, Was the
Cause
appointee
that,
serve
the
within
first is
contact of-
introductory about
Uh,
what.
keep
Yeah.
going down.
It's necessary, the appointee serve without because of the keep, then it is necessary
Keep
to
going
start a
down.
code and keep going down. Adapting students in virtual
Yeah,
meetings,
maybe
committee
after
boards are able to
that.
operate efficiently, seemingly, okay, then go down more. Words that meant evening hours are realized advantage
Yeah.
virtually. And so after that, maybe virtual is less substantial,
People
no,
are-
because even this virtual attendance, I guess.
Sure.
Many of words express preference for virtual, maybe move it before that, yeah, right there,
So right here?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then the paragraph that or the sentence that I added,
Mhm.
per Sandy's note comment was, whereas Assembly Member Alex Boras, do you have that? Whereas,
Yep.
okay. Has introduced Assembly Bill 80849 to permit New York City community boards to meet virtually if they choose. And then after that, I say, and would recognize virtual attendance as, quote, attendance, close quote, for purposes of achieving quorum.
As attendance for,
Purposes of achieving quorum. Comma, but would not. I didn't clear this with Sandy. This was an issue she raised in an email that I missed, and I saw it before when I was preparing for this meeting. And I changed it just moments before I left the house.
Oh, achieving quorum.
Yeah, so it just gives it more
Yeah,
specific.
because it's implied, apparently, and her point was it's implied
Mhm.
within the legislation,
Mhm.
but it's not
Implicitly.
clear.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to go see, because the bill makes reference to the. I think it's the open meetings, the open
Yeah, it
meetings.
is open
law.
meetings law.
I didn't have time to go back and check what the open meeting law says about quorum. So,
Yeah, the open meetings law is quorum has to be in-person quorum or people who have a disability, yeah, and they're virtual.
and we
because
ought to
they're-
have more, Bora's just clarify that in.
Yeah.
In the legislation. Jesus has been working with him on this, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
maybe have Jesus give
yeah,
him, the bill's already in the hopper, right?
yeah, it is, except that, I looked up, there's no one in the Senate who's
Yeah,
sponsoring,
no.
and we need someone in the Senate, so I was thinking that we should also be sending this to our, I mean, it is a resolution, we'll share with everyone, but to our state senators to get somebody to push it, because otherwise it'll just sit in the assembly.
yeah, it'll get sent
Hmm.
to, a request that the entire Senate delegation representing community districts that's sponsoring, co-sponsor the pain bill in the
Yes,
Senate.
yes.
Who are the
Since-
senators for our district? We got,
Gonzalez and Kruger, so
Yeah.
like since one of the requests in the resolve clauses is for
For the
Gonzalez
Senate.
and
it's just
Kruger.
Gonzalez and Kruger. We don't have, what's his name?
No more Brad, we got
Yeah.
redistricted out.
Roland Siegel does not
So it's
overlap.
just those two nowadays?
Yeah.
It's just the two of them nowadays, yes,
Okay.
but yeah, this will be sent.
Gonzalez is over across the river.
Yeah, her office is right here, actually, on 42nd and
Yes.
Second.
Just two, yeah.
Yeah,
She's more tech forward, so she'll probably understand
Yeah.
the strength in virtual meetings.
But yes, this
So she's the
will
chair of
be
the
sent.
tech committee, isn't she?
yeah, she is. She's chair of the tech committee.
So that'd be
That's
kind
true,
of-
that's a good point. She should be sponsoring this bill,
Yeah.
given that she's chair of the
She's the
tech
chair of the
committee.
technology committee,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you know what, I'll send an email to her with this bill just to kind of be like, hey, can you do, follow up and take a look at this.
Think for your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's something you're gonna have to lobby.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the CB6 should reach out to her, or anyone else should reach out to her individually. I'll reach out to her.
And then
Anyone
her
should,
board is gonna push it to
Yeah,
yeah.
And then assuming that this passes the full board on Wednesday, the community board is in the position to, at that point, use this resolution to say, this is the position of our board.
Yeah.
We want this legislation to come to pass.
Is there anything beyond borough board? Isn't there a coalition of the community boards citywide or no?
That I forget,
Hmm.
quite honestly. Jesus.
I've never heard of anything. The highest I've ever heard, and it's been 25 years, is borough board.
Yeah, that I forget,
Surprised.
Jesus might know.
It's surprising. It should be a citywide borough. Or citywide community board affiliation, get all, what is it, 55 boards?
59.
59, yeah, get all 59 of them now, something.
Yeah, but they operate very separately, right? County
I
and
know.
county. Yeah.
But no,
Yep, 59 boards operate in
Yeah.
59 different ways. from what I
I
hear.
know.
Yeah.
Very much.
And if you're trying to do business across across community district lines, forget about it. You gotta deal with everybody's website.
So Steve has his
What,
hand
like
raised.
CB5, you mean, dealing with CB5, is that what you're talking about?
But yeah,
Steve?
5 or 6 or 4, 1. Steve?
Yes, I have just a couple of comments. The line 69, whereas, where it says therefore allows community boards maximum flexibility in determining their governance. It's a little vague to me, and so I'm wondering if we even need this whereas. Maybe we can strike it because it's already clear from the whereas before that we're talking about the flexibility of being able to have virtual attendance and all of that. And to me, this is not a governance issue; it's an operational issue. How we
Yeah.
manage it.
What's that
We
line?
could strike it, or we could change determining their manner of operation.
What's that line looks threatening?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Allows community boards the maximum flexibility in determining their operation. We can take it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's redundant.
either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially not that we added that other piece. And then the last resolved, I would just soften the language because it says we're requesting that other community boards adapt this. I think we can say that we request other community boards consider supporting the bill, but I don't think we can mandate that other community boards adopt resolutions like this.
The request that it be considered for adoption by other community board and substantially same.
Yeah.
No, not this. Not that the resolution be adapted and adopted. We're asking them to support the bill, right, through their own resolutions. Correct?
Well, I think yes, you're asking the bill be adopted, but it's basically, if you can get, how many, 12 community boards in Manhattan?
Yes.
12, if you can get 12 basically saying all the same thing, I think you got a better chance.
Right, but essentially, we're asking them to support the bill.
The bill, right?
So that's what we want them to say. I don't.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it sounds strange for us to say that we want other community boards to
No.
copy and paste from our resolution. How would we feel if another
Well, we have, in fact, we have.
Yeah, in fact,
That's
we've
usually
often
what
have done it,
happens.
yeah.
That's usually what happens when there's something that affects borough activities is we normally, everybody adopts as it says, substantially similar resolutions.
Yeah, in fact, the current structure we have for hybrid meetings, that came about from a resolution we had written in, I think, August of 2022, and then went to everybody else, and a lot of other people signed on to it too.
Yeah, I guess see where the language might be like too aggressive to the point where it says adapt it in substantially the same form.
Yeah, that's my point. It's just softening the language. I'm not opposed to this concept. It's just softening the language so that it's up to them to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It does seem like, oh, we want it in the same. So the request that other community boards consider adopting, and we don't
Yeah.
keep substantially the same form, take that out.
be considered by the other community.
Yeah.
Other community boards.
Consider adopting this or similar, this or a similar resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Any other comments on this?
Hi,
Alright,
hi,
so-
folks. I felt my ears burning, so I decided to jump on.
That was a surprise. I was like, wait, I hear Jesus.
Um, I will say that that final whereas that folks have been commenting on, I'm not sure that I read it the same way. I don't think it does say request, so I don't know that it is, I don't think it's very forceful. Though the more that I think about this, the order is wrong. Once something makes it to borough board, by that point, it's expected that the community boards have already taken a position on it, because otherwise, how are the chairs going to vote one way or the other if their boards have not taken a position on it? This sort of makes it sound like borough board and then community boards take a position on it, which is completely the wrong order.
So we switch it.
So I would probably switch it around. If you want to ask the community boards to consider adopting a similar resolution, it's only at that point then that they'll actually be empowered to say anything should this ever come up at borough board.
That makes sense.
So the board chair presents it
Yeah.
to borough board?
I would advise, if what I would suggest is that the borough president's office be lobbied, I guess, or we advocate towards that to them to consider putting this on a upcoming agenda. Typically what goes on the agenda automatically, or like ULURP actions or things like that. But something like this, I would recommend that the chair of the board, or I could do it, but I think it's nicer coming from the chair of the board if it's borough board, that they advocate that this be on the agenda. It doesn't hurt maybe to even talk to some of the other boards, and if this comes up from many boards, then it can be on the agenda. I'm not so sure that they will put it on if just one board asks. But it can certainly be raised. For example, a chair of the board could raise it during their report at borough board. All the chairs from the various boards give reports. So that's certainly one way to start the conversation. But certainly the borough president's office should be looped in, and it should see what kind of appetite they have for it. The community boards should be spoken to, see, and engaged with, and see what kind of appetite they have for it, and see whether this has any legs with anybody else. But
So
yeah,
should
as far as order is the order of operations, by the time it gets to borough board for like an actual vote, and I guess it depends on what you mean by present a resolution at borough board. If you mean like, let's get ready to vote on this thing, by that point, you hope the community boards have already either adopted something or chosen just not to take it up.
Yeah. So we change it around that, be it further resolved, that, now the thing is the request, right? Well, so then be it further resolved that Community Board 6 requests that other Manhattan community boards consider adopting this or a similar resolution. And then maybe have, instead of having this as one thing, maybe we do another resolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make it cleaner that way, I think so.
Yeah. Therefore, it be resolved, be it further resolved. So be it further resolved that Manhattan, Community Board 6.
Like that. Whoops.
Yeah,
It's hard to present this resolution to the Manhattan Borough Board.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then,
For consideration. Manhattan Borough Board for its consideration.
Or, yeah, I mean, it's
that
less
right?
presumptuous, it's less presumptuous that way.
yeah, and then on line 63 though,
Yeah.
should we say be it further resolved that Manhattan Community Board 6 request?
Yeah.
You may even want to say that other community boards and drop the Manhattan, that second Manhattan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because one,
You
just
want-
for, it sounds better that way, and two, I mean, if it makes it over the river somehow and other boards take it and say, hey, maybe we'd like that too.
Thank you, Senator Gonzalez.
Yeah, no,
Right.
yeah, we should definitely take it, I was talking to a friend at a holiday party who recently got on community board in Queens, and he has not had a single meeting yet, though, because they haven't been able to get a forum. We're 6 months
Are you
into.
serious?
Yeah,
He's been on for 6 months.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the
Oh,
new
yeah.
year, he got appointed when, new people got appointed. It's the same time that, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the community boards.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, because I happened to ask him, oh, how's it going with community
they
board? He's
don't
like,
do-
oh, we haven't had a meeting, and I was like.
and they don't do
"What?"
any virtual? They can't do any virtual?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I
It
was
gets
like,
worse the further east you go.
yeah,
You
So
can't
what
do
happens,
virtual. You're-
so
you
what
can't do
happens if you've got Euler
yeah,
deadlines? What do you do?
You miss them.
Probably no
Yeah.
comment.
yeah, no comment. And yeah, I mean, I have no idea what's happening.
Unbelievable.
And this is a neighborhood that, I mean, we are in Manhattan, we don't have as much development as we're seeing in the outer boroughs.
Yeah.
There is a lot more
Other
Europe stuff.
boroughs, you don't even hear about the community board.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was shocked when I heard that. I was like,
You-
you know,
I
meetings.
was
all-
shocked how organized this community board is.
I was like, wow.
Track our
Who's-
residents,
who's got
everything's
YouTube
online.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. That way, this is an
Yeah.
opportunity for other community boards to decide if they wanna jump on.
Yeah.
And plus, if it is gonna be presented to Gonzalez and she wants to present to her other half of her district.
Yeah,
Yeah, she can,
exactly.
she can,
She can bring it up
she
at
actually
some
has, she's 3 boroughs. She also covers Brooklyn.
Oh, that's
Right,
right.
yeah,
She
she can
crosses
do
over the
River,
river.
yeah, she's got that green
little
point,
tiny little
yeah,
That's the most screwed up senatorial district.
yeah.
It's got the
It's
sweetest
not-
real estate.
We
That's
complained.
true, it is LIC Green Point.
We complained about the city council district, remember the one that
Yes.
was gonna go
Yeah.
over?
No, we complained about the state assembly and city council. We as our committee led both
Yeah.
of those things, right, last year,
Yeah.
or maybe it was earlier this year, I'm losing, I mean, there was so much redistricting. I am losing track of time, but we were not asked about this one, this just happened because this is the one where the judge went in. The
Yeah.
guy from Carnegie Mellon came in and made maps. Yeah,
It's worked
and so
great
we
if
had,
you're
we
a
had
real
no
estate
input on this.
conglomerate. It worked great if you're a real estate.
Plus, I'm in
conglomerate.
their district.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, yeah, almost all of us are, the list
I
grows
am
a
too.
little
I
bit.
was really shocked when that happened.
Yeah, I think we all were, and we weren't, we had no voice in it, right? Unlike the other two, we were able to offer our opinion on what happened.
Yeah, it's
Perhaps
pretty-
that's another topic we can talk about again, talk about redistricting 10 years before the next one happens. Yeah.
Let's see where she is in congestion pricing. That's gonna be fun for her.
Yeah, no, it's,
Oh,
yeah.
That was a major argument that we had about one of the topics was how's the congestion pricing conversation gonna go from this side of the river versus here.
Yeah, especially places like Greenpoint where you don't have good public transit.
That's right.
Yeah,
Other than
Or in
folks-
Manhattan, when they start shutting down some of these accessory garages in
Mhm.
co-ops and condos and
Mhm.
rental buildings, all that revenue is gonna be gone,
and
and all those buildings are gonna either have to increase their maintenance charges or their rents, depending on what they are.
It's already going on.
And nobody is addressing that at all.
yeah,
Plus, you got the staff guys that have to come in at they have to be there at 7 a.m. and they live in transit deserts. This whole thing's a mess. You know, in London, they don't impose the congestion pricing until I think it's 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. So they keep their nightlife clear. And,
They also don't have a 24-hour running subway system.
London, yes, it does.
They only have one
No,
line.
the tube, yeah, the rest of
They only
it,
have one line. And that was only limited.
yeah,
It's not not the entire line, only one line for a trial period.
I thought it was going 24/7.
yeah.
What do you
but-
want?
We're one of the 4 or 5 subway systems in the world that runs 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tokyo doesn't even run
Yeah, Tokyo doesn't,
24 hours. Everyone scrambles before 11 o'clock where you hang
Yeah.
out and get a taxi.
yeah. In London, it's relatively new, as you said, it used to not
It's
be,
very new
yeah,
and it's only for one month.
yeah.
The idea is to expand it slowly. It's just, they're literally learning from us how we're doing it 24 hours.
Which congestion pricing or?
No,
the
the
subway.
subway.
24/7. I'm surprised.
Who did this, Paris 24 hours? Who else is 24 hours? I mean, you would expect a place like Tokyo
Oh,
would be as
okay.
much. Moscow, Shanghai, maybe?
No, Shanghai definitely.
Hong Kong,
I've been
yeah.
there. Not Hong Kong.
Yeah,
It's actually like a much smaller systems.
yeah,
I'm sure it's easy to Google, but they're
Yeah.
not anywhere near the size of us.
Montreal or Philly?
yeah, no, Philly,
Copenhagen is
like,
one-
okay,
Yeah.
Copenhagen, you
Yeah.
just Googled it,
Yeah,
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen and like Melbourne.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Melbourne, I was thinking Melbourne,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're like rubber wheels, 14 lines. They're not
Yeah.
even, it's
Yeah.
so, it's
It's
such
a lot
a,
more quiet.
it's completely, we're the only one large city that has 24 hours.
That's pretty impressive, I never knew that.
It's super
So
impressive
many reasons to
considering.
love New York even more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why it's,
Washington's is like a toy.
it's beautiful.
yeah,
It's
I mean, they're
beautiful.
all lovely
You know,
there,
you
they're
know
all
how they
lovely
sold
there.
it? You know how they sold that subway system? LBJ sold it
Oh, yeah.
as a bomb shelter.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's why it
that's
goes so deep, you know, the foggy bottom, it's like you never get out of that.
He sold it as a bomb
Yeah.
shelter. It was part of the national defense.
That's right.
Put defense on it and they'll spend anything you want.
That's right.
So I think we're done with this resolution?
Yeah.
Everyone happy with it? Any other small things or anything, is the?
I think
Yeah, it
there's a lot
looks
of campaigning we have to do to the other community boards, huh?
Mhm. All right, so I think this is good. The other thing that I had, and I don't know if you saw my email or not, Jim, so, I cannot make it to full board on Wednesday, and neither can Nad, so we need someone to speak on behalf of our committee and present this resolution, so do you
Okay.
wanna do it since you wrote it?
Well,
Oh.
I was gonna tell,
Yeah.
the staff, I'm going to try to make it, but I may have to make it virtually because I've got something going
Yeah.
on that same night.
Does anyone
Wednesday?
else can, I mean, I don't know, Steve, if you wanna do it, or Roberto or Steve, and Steve has his hand up.
If I'm there personally, I'll do it.
All right, yeah, just a question. Actually, so don't we need to actually vote on this resolution? I don't think we voted on this.
No, we voted last month.
We voted
fine.
to draft a resolution. We did not vote on this resolution.
On the bottom of it has a tally.
Yeah, but he's saying that we didn't, the
We
language.
just drafted it now. We didn't actually vote on this.
Fine,
right?
that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah, we can take another vote.
So
I
you
mean,
want-
often we just, once we say we're gonna draft a resolution, we don't take another vote, but
Yeah.
they're happy to do that.
That's fair.
Steve, in the past, the board used to sort of vote on a generic sort of idea for the resolution, and someone would go home and write it, and then it would just appear at full board. In recent months and years, we have been trying to sort of reverse that process, so the resolution is written so that it can be viewed at committee and considered there. So that may be where the disconnect is, that in the past, before you got on, there used to be a lot of just, we'll vote on something, on the general idea, and someone will go write the resolution, and then you vote on it at full board. We're considering it again after it's been voted on, is not something that usually happens. But given that you guys have made changes to it, it wouldn't hurt to vote on
I'm
it
happy
again.
to do it. We've never done that before. We always just say, okay, we're doing the resolution. And oftentimes, it also depends on the committee, because the problem with our committee oftentimes is that our meeting is right before the full board meetings, and then we write the resolution within 2 days. This time we had the benefit of having an extra month because our meeting was after full board last month.
We had a former board chair who's no longer on the board at all, who would write resolutions that just half of the And this, I think, before Jesus and you guys came on board. Half the meeting would be fixing this guy's resolutions. So,
All right, so.
for the full board
yeah.
to fix, not the committee, for the full entire board.
Okay, so Brendan, can you do a roll call vote?
You can prove
Sure.
that a lot.
So when I call your name, please say whether you are in favor, opposed, abstained, or abstained for cause. Jim Collins,
Approved.
Nat Kalani,
In favor.
Ava Marie Lassiter,
In favor.
Steve O,
In favor?
Reshma Patel,
In favor.
Steve Perez,
In favor.
and Roberto Ruiz Melendez.
In favor.
Okay?
But do we have a quorum? Because
yes, we do.
we do, okay, we do have a quorum.
Quorum is 5.
Okay, 5. Okay, great. So we do have a quorum.
So it's 7 in favor, nobody opposed, this passes.
Great, thank you. Now going back to presenting this to full board, is there anybody who would like to do that?
If I'm not there, if I'm there, I'll happily
Mhm.
present it, but. If I'm not, you should have a stand-in.
Yeah.
I'm barely functional. Writing
Oh, that's true, you're sick.
full board meeting minutes anyway.
Oh, no, you're secretary still. Yeah, it's not until next month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody volunteers?
yeah, well, the other Steve is also sick, and this Steve is sick as well. I don't know if you have an interest, Eva Marie or Roberto.
I'm not sure if I will be able to make it, so I can't commit to anything.
I hope to feel better by Wednesday. So if I'm feeling better, I can do it.
Yeah, so let's do this. I mean, can I ask that, is it okay? I mean, if, I know we'll call for quorum, but if no one from this committee can show up in person, could I zoom in or Jim zoom in then?
Yeah,
And present
absolutely.
and speak
Yeah.
for just that portion, and we'll
Yeah,
call
it-
for quorum.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we can't vote, yeah.
Jesus can correct me if I misspeak here, but those who attend a meeting by way of an extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah.
Just can't count for quorum. They can still participate in the meeting, they can participate in discussions.
Yeah,
They can even vote, they just can't count towards quorum.
okay,
I at least don't see any issue with you, Reshma, or you, Jim,
yeah.
presenting the resolution,
Are we gonna have quorum?
on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, quorum usually hasn't been an issue for our full board meetings,
Yeah.
even,
You need to have like
Even-
20 some odd people not come.
Yeah.
even.
Our committee, most
It's
of our
the
committee.
holidays, it's a tough
But-
time to.
Yeah, tough time.
Yeah, so
Everybody's got a conflict.
Reshma, what I would suggest is that you loop in Kyle so that he's aware if,
Yeah.
worst comes to word, that he can present it or something. Here's the thing, we're in a new space this month.
Oh, we are, I didn't know that, yeah.
Yes, please look at the agenda. We're at the Brookdale Auditorium.
Okay,
The internet is there, but sometimes a little shaky. And
Okay.
so there is I think a small possibility, but still a possibility that we may not be able to guarantee people zooming in. So the internet is not as reliable as it is at our usual location. So just in case, we need to plan for any contingency. So
yeah, so
That's
I was gonna talk to Kyle after this meeting to let him know, which, Brendan and I had discussed if we got a volunteer, but I will just tell him that if he can present, if Jim or Steve Perez are there, and able to do it, they can do it, but if not, Kyle can do it then, and we won't rely on the Zoom option because it might be uncertain.
we'll try our very, very best to ensure it, but with any location, there's always a possibility, but this one a little bit more than most.
Yeah, no, but that's a good point. You never know. It could even be where I am, like the Zoom may not work. Internet goes out, who knows what happens, right?
Yeah.
You need to have video to present the resolution.
But people otherwise it'll just be Reshma's disembodied voice, you know.
Yeah, I could call it,
There.
is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Just shutting off video usually
Yeah.
helps with that.
Yeah.
network.
I mean, if Kyle is able to present, I'm okay with that. I did not know that that was an option. I've not seen that done before, but yeah.
Well, it's when almost everyone on the committee may or may not be there.
Yes, yeah, we have to do that. Yeah, and this resolution in particular, Kyle has been very involved in. So it actually makes sense that he just do it.
It'd almost be poetic if we did present it virtually.
Yeah. We should do it, but then it would be really bad if the internet dies because it's not working there, and then that would be the reason why you can't do Zoom meetings. To be like, they try to pass a
Well, and a big
resolution, and
part of
then
the
Zoom,
issue with the
Zoom
in-person
dies.
meetings that we've had, trying to find reliable locations.
Yes, yeah.
Because that has been an issue.
Yeah,
I mean, you just kind of exposed us,
Yeah,
like,
like
oh, it's
now
at Brookdale now?
like none of us knew, like if I was, because if I was going to the meeting or you're going to the meeting, would you have known it was Brookdale? We didn't.
No, I would,
Yeah,
Every Friday before full board, we send an email to everyone on the board that has the draft agenda, and the draft agenda has the location, the body of the email has the location. So you guys, you have to read it. We're trying to send fewer emails, and we're trying to make them shorter, but yeah,
like
hopefully
walking into-
everyone doesn't show up where we were last month, but
no, I mean, it's fully oversight because I did read that email because I responded saying I cannot make it. I also looked at the agenda to see where I was in the agenda, thinking how much time it might take me to get there if I could make it. But I did not see the location. I kept on putting in the Google Maps how long it takes me to get to the old location.
yeah, well, at least it's right next door
Yeah, it's not
for people
far.
who make a mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. At least it's not that far. Like, it's not like we decide to meet on, 48th Street or something.
it's on the way to where we normally meet.
Yeah, it's a
so.
little bit quicker. So,
All right. What else we got?
old or new business, does anyone have anything else?
Have we said, I know Transportation Committee approved a resolution on the congestion pricing. But I think there's a lot of things in the way it's being presented now, which is $15 across the board, no exemptions, that adversely affect a number of the constituents in Community District 6. For example, people doing reverse commutes, people who may be doing home repairs where there's, they have to have a contractor come in, try finding a contractor that has an office in Manhattan. There's any number of things, deliveries of furniture, household, consumer durable repairs like washing machines or refrigerators, all of that stuff. To say nothing of the patients going to see doctors. There's a bunch of exemptions that London uses, including things like tow trucks.
Yeah, so, I mean, Harvey.
And I think we really ought to, I think maybe before this thing gets resolved and set in stone, I think it would be worthwhile to hear from local constituents and try to represent their values or their interests before this commission.
So my understanding, and I think Harvey Epstein spoke about this at one of our board meetings, that there are gonna be exemptions. That was a question that was asked of him.
Well, he doesn't
Yeah,
have a final
yeah, but
Plus,
I mean,
London didn't get it right the first year. They did keep changing it and amending it. It wasn't, they didn't get the price tag they have now, just
Yeah.
on year one.
but
that?
They
yeah,
didn't settle on the pricing. I don't know what the pricing is.
I thought it was, I had heard $15 was the.
15 per cars, I forgot what the dollar amount for trucks was higher, different amount for taxis,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different
yeah,
amount
yeah.
for, ride service. And different amount for motorcycles, a lower fee.
Right,
So they released 5,
right,
did I count that right?
right.
yeah,
Sorry, so the idea going forward is that that's the first pass. And that it won't be written in stone,
Right.
that over time, because one of the things that the Manhattan Borough President have said, that his constituents have been mentioned is a what do they call those, community tags, car tags, the resident tags or something like that.
Yeah.
That's been a popular discussion. There's a number of things, because like you said, it's very
Reverse
divisible.
commute.
People own cars that live in this district. People own cars that live on 60th Street.
Right,
You know, that would quite literally find parking on 59th or whatever, right? It's quite silly. Some of the directions of the streets were, so a lot of that conversation is
you're on
happening.
transport, right?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
No, but, so what he's saying is, I thought we are having a lot of exemptions, and these discussions have been happening.
happening.
Because there have been community forums on this, and people have come, like, one of the forums I remember I was at, they just talked about, a mother was like, I have a child, you know, 2 children, I drop them off at activities, right? If
Right,
you go
right.
above 60th, come back. So you have lots of different things, and it was my understanding that they were gonna have exemptions.
Parents on travel baseball teams, for
Yeah.
example, or sports teams.
Yeah, but
But you-
Roberto has his hand up.
Yeah, I went to attended virtually the MTA meeting on this, and they are statutorily required to raise $1 billion as passed. So they are taking as the congestion pricing was passed from Albany, they have to raise $1 billion. So based off that, they actually, and Jim is right, they have very little exceptions that have been put in. So I know that we were, perhaps we were promised exceptions, but at the same time, I think we have to think about what the MTA is dealing with from a statutory perspective, where if they don't raise $1 billion, then the congestion tax goes away. So they're statutorily bound to this $1 billion requirement. So they have basically tried to finagle as hard as they can to squeeze the $1 billion out. So that's why there can't be exemptions.
Right. My question is though, given the interests of our district constituents, shouldn't the community district put together some statement or some testimony to the effect of these are interests of the people who live in Community District 6. These are exemptions that should be considered
I mean,
by
Yeah, so,
I hate to say, but isn't that something
Huh?
transportation?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
transportation should take that up.
I don't think so. I think it's
Yeah.
more legislation. Transportation is, they're not gonna address interests of people who, need whatever, for whatever reason, to have access to a vehicle and do reverse commuting. This is
There's only 12,000.
let me finish.
Yeah.
This is an intergovernmental affair, and I really think it's government business and government relations as opposed to singular transportation.
I mean, if you wanna bring it up we can discuss this at next month's meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when this is, I don't know if you know, Roberta, when you went, I heard it was being implemented pretty soon.
Yeah,
Right.
so what happened? Yeah, it'll go back to, so it goes back to the feds.
Yeah,
And then they have to approve it basically by the end of the year. And then the MTA has another public comment period, and then they'll open it up in April.
Yeah.
okay, so we have time, we can do public
yeah,
comment
But I
period.
mean, like, you say, bring it up to transportation, but what about people who aren't using transportation, who are going to have their apartment, either rent or maintenance increased because they've lost access to the accessory parking garage?
I think
Their customers are no longer
I mean,
there.
do you think
and they
people, I
lose-
mean, I have no idea what's gonna happen. I am somebody who only walks and takes a subway
Same here.
and rides a bike, right?
Same
I
here.
don't even take Uber,
Same
so
here.
this is like no, I feel like,
But
I don't even get deliveries that even that I have the same furniture I've had my
Yeah.
whole life.
a lot of, my point though is that they're going to raise the cost of living,
Yeah.
simply living. Not commuting, not
Yeah.
driving a car, anything. Okay, they're gonna raise
I
that
know, I
cost
see your point,
to
and,
people who are
Yeah.
resident here,
yeah,
who have done nothing
Right.
to change their lifestyle at all. They're going to have, as I say, they're gonna lose the revenue from accessory parking garages. And when that's lost,
yeah,
and let's say our building, for example, I forget the number that we get from our accessory parking garage. But there are literally hundreds of buildings like that within our community district. rentals, co-ops, condos that have
Yeah,
accessory
so,
parking.
I mean, and the thing is, to backtrack, like even like local law 97, local law 11, every building that has to do these repairs, which are much more stringent now than they were, are having increased costs. There's lots of things that are
Well, yeah,
increasing.
that's 1 year
Yeah.
capital, that's a 1 year capital charge.
Yeah.
When these buildings build out their budgets, okay?
Yeah.
They say, you know, or when you own a piece of real estate, okay,
Yeah.
if you're a landlord, for example, if you're a landlord, you say, well, okay, I'm getting this much revenue this year, this year, this year. They've got that, as you mentioned, the
Yeah.
capital improvement to make sure that your garage
Yeah.
doesn't collapse. That's gonna be a single charge. And that'll probably be a capital assessment on people who
Yeah.
live in co-ops and condos. And it'll obviously be a capital cost for landlords. But it's going to be an ongoing decline in revenue over a period of years that's going to adversely affect the people who live within our community district. And nobody that I've seen, neither elected officials nor anybody anywhere else, has said anything about how that adversely affects them, including our transportation committee.
Yeah, but I guess in these situations, right, like when a legislation is being proposed, when you have public comment period, people who are impacted come and speak and they advocate for
Right, and
themselves.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so you want to
We
ask,
as a-
yeah,
We
yeah,
as a board
but
who
also,
speak for the average person in the street, this, you know,
Yeah.
we're the most local element of New York
yeah,
City
and I guess
government.
I'm saying
We
that
should-
for
we
me,
should
all
speak
of
to
those
some-
costs outweigh the environmental damage that car driving has. And therefore, I don't feel that strongly about it, but I'm happy to bring it up on committee if other people feel
I
they
think
want to
it
do
should
that.
be. I think it should
I
be.
think that's something should be addressed by transportation.
Yeah, I don't think it's our purview.
I do, most definitely. As I say, it doesn't affect transportation at all. It affects revenue.
Yeah, I mean, I see his point about the garage is something obviously I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah. Nobody has.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is those people, like at public comment period, people can show up and those people from those buildings should be showing up, but you're saying they
Right.
haven't thought about it
But
either.
I'm saying that as a community
Mhm.
board, we have interests, you know.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of bike advocates on the
Yeah,
transportation
Patient
committee.
committee, yeah,
That's a huge, you know,
yeah, I mean, I think majority of the people.
but we don't have
Yeah,
a lot of people on there who are senior citizens, who are going to face additional rental costs.
yeah,
Or, you know, maintenance charges or capital costs, whatever you wanna call it. And I just think it's something that should be addressed by the board on behalf of those
So-
residents who are not, as I say, not at all affected by having a car, not having a car. All they're doing is living within a district where the city is making this radical change in the way people get about. That will affect their impact,
yeah,
their income, or their costs. That's what I'm saying,
yeah.
and I think it's worth the board taking up.
Should we take a vote on it? People want this to be an agenda item because
We can take it
I'm
up
happy to
next
put it,
month.
yeah, next month, okay.
I just raise it as a matter of
Also
interest.
Did someone make a comment? Oh, Steve has a comment.
All right, yeah. So last month, we had a pretty good discussion on the budget process.
Yes,
And I'm wondering, as we move forward and as we look into the budget prioritization process for next year, can we put on the agenda a discussion of how we want that methodology to play out for the next cycle, essentially? Along the lines of the email that I had sent you about ideas of, you know, how we could give guidance to committees about how to do the budgeting process. I mean, we need to kind of like define what that is going to look like in our committees so that we can, you know, discuss how it would play out, you know, for next year.
yeah, and so the plan with that was, and thank you again for the information that you forwarded and that information, that in January when the new year starts, was to send an email, and I already mentioned it at our exec meeting, that each of the committee chairs will be getting this email in January, about the process, how we want to do it, and the fact that they have to come speak to us in May to tell us what their requests are. I can share that email draft. I already kind of put it together, it has not been sent to anyone because I was waiting till the new year for this. Because otherwise, if you do it too much in advance, it gets lost. But I can share it with everybody in advance of the January meeting, and then maybe after the January meeting is when we send it out. And actually, what I wanted to time it with is at the end of January, we don't know when this will happen, but the Office of Management and Budget will give us a response to our request from this year. And in the past, what I've done is when I get that response, I send it to each committee chair saying, okay, this was what was funded from our request from, and it's very few things get funded. So usually you're either getting back this thing saying, this wasn't funded, but send it to them. So then they know what the response was from each agency.
There's a thing in the city charter, that we have what's called a district cabinet, where we get DSNY, FDNY, NYPD, all those folks that serve our district. And if we request it, they are required to tell us what their priorities are, what things that they want to do. So I would suggest that maybe we.
No, and
we
thank
draft the
you for
letter
that
to them,
email,
yeah.
and that was, I was gonna include that also when we start in January
Okay.
with the process.
With the committee chairs.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, committee chairs, but also reaching out to each of them, because like you said, you've been on the board the longest of anyone here, and you said that you've never heard us going out to these groups before.
As I said,
Yeah.
I remember one instance
Yeah.
where one of the fire
Yeah.
battalions needed something
Yeah.
and requested it, but I don't know whether or not it came through them as part of this process or, it was just a casual conversation or whatever, but I think we should
Yeah, and
formalize
it's
the
usually,
process.
and it would be like the agency too, like for instance, on parks, we have our requests that come up through parks, because that's our committee I have, but the parks department comes and speaks to parks committee.
Right.
And they'll tell us like, hey, this elevator
Right,
is broken and constantly,
Right.
and we put it in. And
Mhm.
similarly, I think the other
Yeah.
groups should be
we
doing the
should,
same thing.
and we should do that with public safety. and
Yeah,
Fire department.
exactly, yeah, I was assuming,
NYPD, et cetera, et
yeah,
cetera.
and public safety is a newer committee too, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Before, a few years ago. But yeah, so we'll start, anew in January, on that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if there's any other topics, because it'll be light on budget, because we'll basically, once we, get the responses, we'll take a look at it. And then we have about a month usually to respond. We send a letter, and that letter is really not the committees writing the letter, it's the board chair that sends the letter back to OB saying why we wanted things funded that didn't get funded. But in addition to that, if there are any other topics you want to discuss in terms of governmental affairs, legislation in Albany that you want to support, bring it up and we can put them on the agenda. So. And usually, I mean, I usually reach out to our elected officials too and say, hey, is there anything you'd like us to support that you're working on? And they'll come in and speak to us too, or have someone from their office come speak. All right, any other questions or comments? But thank you, Jim and Steve, for both of your suggestions.
I was just looking at what's on the label of that gavel.
Oh, I didn't even know there's anything. Okay, so then I think we're done. So the meeting is adjourned at 7:56 PM. Oh, wait, did I need to take a motion to adjourn? I didn't ask. Someone might make a motion.
I'm all.
Yeah,
Second.
okay,
I move.
okay.